here at Vegan Camp Out 2017 in Nottingham. There's a big programme of talks and there's stalls and so much to do, so let's go check it out.
This moment in time when we had the ability to make a genuine difference, when the future rested in the palm of our hands, when we could stop the inevitable demise of the environment, and we could stop the suffering of animals. Future generations are going to turn to us and they're going to say, what did you do? What did you do to save the planet and save the lives of animals? Did you stay quiet, or did you stand up and make your voice heard and make a difference? No, we have to decide now, in this moment today, what our answer will be to them in the future.
After I started blogging for a while, I got into YouTube. I remember, I think I reached about, I think it was maybe about 1,000 subscribers on Instagram, and this was about 3 years ago when nobody really was sort of popular on Instagram, and I was like, I'm famous. I have 1,000 followers on Instagram. I'm going to make a YouTube channel and be like Freely the Banana Girl type.
Why does the cow give us her milk? Shouldn't she need that milk for her babies? Or where do these eggs come from? Why does the chicken let us have her eggs? I didn't really understand. My mother's approach was that she did not want to lie to me. She has always been convinced that it's child abuse to actually tell untruths to your child. She couldn't tell me honestly that the cow volunteered the milk or the chicken volunteered the eggs. So she explained to me they come from animals and humans take them. And from that point at 6, I said, well, I don't want them anymore. I thought if you're going to take up running, the first thing you need to do is get a pair of trainers and go out and run. After a while, I thought, well, I need to test how good I am. So I entered a few races, local races, and a bit further beyond, started to win them, started to break course records. And I thought, well, this is kind of a hobby that I'm kind of doing as a twofold purpose that could really, if I used it properly, could really be beneficial to the animals. And I think that's the main train of my talk and my life is, if I don't think what I'm doing at that given time is going to be of some benefit to animals somewhere, I'm not going to bother doing it. Pretty much the epitome of tough in running was marathon running. So I thought, okay, I could enter a marathon. If I could do relatively well in it, or at the time just get round it as a vegan, that would be a really, really good thing. Sure, Vegetarian Cycling and Athletics Club. And I said, that's great, I can get the vegetarian word out there. And basically, you run it, for people who don't know, I could be running through the streets of London 45 minutes ahead of the main field and the elite men on the elite women's start. So it really, really was a good opportunity to let the world see what you've got on your vest. And ideally, on my vest, I wanted it to say vegan rather than vegetarian, because that's what I am. So with another guy in the Vegetarian Cycling Athletics Club, Peter, we decided that, okay, we'll start the Vegan Runners.
We come to this one point in my life, and that was when I was at about 26 years old, so more than 10 years ago, where I got to the point where I realized that I'm actually pretty compassionate with animals. So when I would see them suffering, like Jacob when he was a baby, I would have the urge to help them.
1 in 2 of us will get cancer in the UK at some point in our lives. It does not mean we will die. 1 in 4 of us will die from it though. So remember I said most milk is from pregnant cows. So 75 to 90% of milk circulating around the UK is from a pregnant animal. I'm just going to read you this quote. Milk contains many biologically active molecules. In a typical glass there are 35 hormones and 11 growth factors, including IGF-1, estrogen and progesterone. So milk is laden with estrogens. Now all the men in this audience, I'm sure you do not want to be consuming estrogens, so tell your male friends that is what they're doing every time they sip milk or bite into the cheese, that fatty taste that society's become addicted to. Fat, salt, sugar, fat, salt, sugar, fat, salt, sugar. This massive addiction that's going on within the UK, which the food industry exploits. So that fat, when you consume it, it encourages your liver to make bad cholesterol, which literally, physically clogs your artery.
Abuse and disease rife in factory farms puts us all at risk.
Has been sanctioned at every level by government, but on a global scale, by governments across the world, not just ours. Not only that, with antibiotic resistance, did you know that it's almost 1 million lives lost now globally through antibiotic resistance? In other words, those drugs have stopped working. And they've stopped working partly because the way that animals are farmed across the world, how could any animal even get, in this case of a pig, to 6 months old when you keep them in conditions like that? I'll tell you how, because they pump them with drugs every day of their lives from practically the moment they are born. And that is legal. So all they've done is outlawed growth-promoting antibiotics in the UK, across the EU in 2006, and guess what? Antibiotic usage has gone up, not down, since that ban was enforced. So how does the industry get around it? They just say, we're using it for disease prevention and disease treatment. So all that's happened is that they sidestep the law, and the government knows this and they allow it. Yet again, it's sanctioned, and it's your health that's put at risk. It's your kids' health, it's your mum's health. It's absolutely outrageous. We've got scientists across the world saying no new antibiotic has been developed for the last 4 decades. What the hell are we going to do? So surgeons have got together and published in The Lancet. They said with hip replacements, we give antibiotics before the operation, and we give it afterwards if we need to. We have 1, maybe 2% at the most infections due to a hip replacement operation in the UK. If antibiotics no longer work, that will go up massively, and 1/3 of people getting the operation, 1/3 will die as a matter of course. And they are saying just routine things, you know, cuts, routine operations that we take completely for granted, we will not be able to take for granted anymore. You will have to sign your life away, literally, to say, yeah, I know there's a massive chance that I'm going to die if I go for this operation.
This is like some surreal vision of hell. You look at the walls that are just festooned, God knows how many years old, in cobwebs. And animals, it's just like they've been left abandoned, neglected, ill, and desperate. This place is just horrendous.
All know society revolutions start with a relatively small number of people that starts to increase very quickly. The past 5 years, that started to happen. And then suddenly you reach this tipping point. How do you get to a tipping point in revolution? You have to convince the public that it's in their benefit. And that is where we're going. Because consuming animals is killing us. 1 in 2 of us have got cancer or will get cancer in their lifetime. It's killing 1 in 4. Heart disease is killing us due to what we do to ourselves. It's not genetic, don't believe the bullshit, it's what we do to ourselves. Strokes are killing us, diabetes type 2 is killing us, it's spiralling out of control. It's all about what we do to ourselves. We eat animals, they kill us. We're destroying our planet. The evidence of that is going across the world. We're treating these animals as if they're trash. People are waking up to that more and more, and they're facing up to it. Everywhere you look, antibiotic resistance is here and now. People are dying. They know somebody in their family that's died because septicemia could not be treated. That tipping point, we're getting closer, we're getting closer, we're getting closer. And the world, my God, it is going to change. We have to make it change.
The more important study, in my opinion, was the research done by 2 environmental advisors to the World Bank, a very non-left-leaning organization, found that raising animals for food is actually responsible for up to 51% of all human-caused greenhouse gases. So that would make it if true, would make it the absolute leader of climate change, human-caused climate change in the world. In the challenges that the Cowspiracy has faced, where people criticize our statistics, they'll say, well, that's not accurate. Actually, hydro is the largest consumer of water. And that's not true, it's the largest user of water. But when you run water through a dam, it comes out the other side. When you run water through an animal, it basically gets locked up, and that's the end of it. Or it comes out horribly polluted. To produce 1 quarter-pound burger takes about 2,500 liters of water, which is the equivalent of 2 months worth of showering. So in the United States, we have I live in California, which is constantly ridden by drought, and so we're always dealing with water shortage issues. We'll be told we have to cut back. They don't tell us you got to cut back on dairy, which takes 1,000 gallons of water, 1,000 liters to produce 1 liter of cow's milk. Water recommendations for cutting back, where you could save about 47 gallons a day, again, versus 660 gallons for just 1 burger. That's not going vegan, that's just 1 burger a day. It's like the equivalent of somebody running their sprinklers all day long, running their hose out into the street, and no one saying anything. And if we saw any of our neighbors doing this, we would all say, hey, this is a huge issue, you've got to stop wasting all this water. Even in a country like the UK where water seems to be abundant. But yeah, we all feel, I think, that it's not okay to say, hey, you need to lay off meat and dairy and eggs because it's destroying our water. And I think that's a big cultural hang-up that we're overcoming. Animal agriculture is also a leading cause of water pollution around the world. In the Gulf of Mexico, in North America, it causes massive hypoxia, which is areas completely devoid of life in coastal waters because there's so much nutrients running off of factory farms and off feedlots and off of the crops grown to feed livestock that it washes into rivers, runs out into the bays, and causes these massive algae blooms that deprive all the oxygen in the water, so everything dies. 5 billion gallons of water and 135 billion pounds of food. They're vastly out-eating us, and there's only 150 billion of them. We are dealing with a population issue, and the population issue is livestock. We grow enough food today to feed between 10 and 15 billion people on this planet. There's 800 million people in this world who don't get enough calories every single day, and yet we're feeding non-human species. That is an atrocity. And the fact that there are starving children in the world while this goes on is completely unacceptable. Livestock consume 50% of the world's grain. Again, while kids go hungry. So a vegan takes about 1/6 of an acre to grow all the food they need for a year. A vegetarian who consumes dairy and eggs requires 3 times as much as that. And the standard high-consuming North American diet of meat, dairy, and eggs requires 18 times as much land. There is this conversation about land use and that urban development is really a problem, that urban sprawl is the reason why we're losing land. The real reason why we're losing land is because we're feeding the wrong species. You can grow 37,000 pounds of vegetables on 1.5 acres of land versus only 375 pounds of meat on that same area. And that's any given area of land. There's a lot of talk too where people will say, oh, well, you can only graze animals here. You can't grow crops. And that's false. I've set up gardens in deserts, in the tropics, in the subarctic. You can do it anywhere. You're gonna produce 15 times more protein on any given area of land with plant-based protein than you will with animal-based. Just a simple fact of feed conversion ratio. It's gonna take 16 pounds of grain to produce 1 pound of beef. Or depending on the species, it might be 4 pounds of grain to produce 1 pound of chicken. Again, still you're always gonna lose. It's not ever gonna be an efficient system. There's something you all can do. I think everybody here knows that. Switching to a vegan diet requires vastly less resources and consumes vastly less. So every single day you have the ability, just by going vegans, by switching and giving up animal products, save 1,100 gallons of water, 30 square feet of forested land, 45 pounds of grain, and 20 pounds of CO2 equivalent in one animal's life.
Chicken never did nothing wrong to me or you, okay? You know? I mean, this person might have done something to affect my life personally, like really bad to me. That's what happens. It's, you know, but this chicken, and that's what I understood. I said, these animals are so vulnerable and innocent, and they trust us. They trust us, and we're their guardians, and we chuck them in a gas chamber and chop them up into pieces. We betray them on every level, and I just think that is the worst betrayal. To lure someone into a false sense of security, feed them, nurture them, look after them, and then put them in a slaughterhouse. This is just an injustice on a massive scale. It needs to be defended. It's like a lion. You set it free and it will defend itself, okay? So you've got the truth on your side.
With vegans, there's this perception of a type of human being, a type of ideal, and that type of person will go vegan or has the potential to go vegan. And then there's another type of individual, and those people are completely written the fuck off. And if you want a fucking vegan world, you can't fucking write anybody off. Everybody has the opportunity. Everybody is vegan inside. It's just a matter of uncovering that.
And she goes like this, she goes, well, you know me and your father, we don't eat all that vegan food. And I went, it's not vegan food, is it? It's vegetables, Mum. And I did something I'm least proud of, probably in my 35 years on the planet, I started naming vegetables. I'm on the phone to my mum's swearing, it's in carrots, it's peas, it's broccoli, it's sprouts. Imagine walking past me on Oxford Street doing the Christmas shopping. Just walking past a bloke going, peas!
For the first time, true suffering. And I realised in that experience that to suffer is the worst thing that we can go through. When you're suffering, nothing else matters. All you want is to come out of that. However, whatever it takes, that's all you can think about. It overcomes you, it's the worst thing that we can go through. And it follows that to come out of your suffering is one of the best things that you can go through. And I was very lucky. I met a personal trainer who helped me when I was able to get fit, get healthy, get strong again. And here's where he got the benefit. Because if to come out of your suffering is one of the best things that can happen to you, then to help somebody else out of their suffering is one of the best ways you can contribute to more peace and happiness in this world. That's what this man did for me. He helped me out of my suffering. I was so grateful to this man and so inspired that I decided I wanted to do the same thing that he'd done for me to others. So I became a personal trainer too for the next 8 years, passionately helping people get off their medications, lose weight, get strong, get fit. And I traveled around the world working on cruise ships, meeting 1,000 new people every week. Some weirdos go on cruise ships now. Some kooky people get on there. Some very interesting people. And one day I met a man, very wise Indian man, like a guru. He talked like the Buddha, like he'd been blazing that sweet, sweet green. He looked like the Buddha, I assume. Big belly, big happy smile, bobby head, you know how it goes. And I was talking to this dude every day, 2 weeks, 2 hours a day. Come, tell me more, tell me more. He's telling me about nature, he's telling me about the universe, he's telling me about all these connections he sees in life. He was a fascinating man. And on the last day of his cruise, he dropped the bomb on me, man. I nearly got away, I was this close. Nearly got out of there, man. He said something to me that changed my life forever. He planted one seed, this guy. He didn't have a YouTube channel, he didn't have a store, online store, nothing like that, Instagram page. In one conversation, he planted one seed. He said, eating animals is bad karma. I said, oh shit. No, you didn't, man. I'm eating animals at this point 3 times a day. I'm thinking, I'm in big trouble if that's true. Did I believe in karma? Not necessarily. But because this man was so wise and had built up so much credibility with me, I thought there could be something to what he's saying. On some level, I might be negatively impacting my life by consuming animal products. But I said to him my go-to line. Someone else planted a seed with me, and it was wrong. But what he said, my personal training manager when I first started, he said there's no such thing as a healthy vegetarian. I said, good news, I don't want to be one. I said this to this Indian man, there's no such thing as a healthy vegetarian though. He said, I've been vegetarian for 20 years. I said, you're gonna have all kinds of protein deficiencies, bro. You need to go to hospital as soon as you get off this cruise. You should be dead. I was shocked. I literally didn't think a vegetarian could live that long. Being a personal trainer, bad. Wait, it gets worse. When I was a personal trainer, I remember this girl comes up to me one day. She's like, oh, I want to get fit and that. I'm like, sweet, what's your diet like? She goes, oh, all I pretty much eat is potatoes. Right now, I'd be like, perfect diet. Dream diet, that's what I do. Then I was like, no, you need to eat meat. And I fed her meat. I cooked for her. I'm like, you need to do this. Bad man. The karma is bad. So he said, I've been vegetarian 20 years. I said, interesting, okay. No such thing as a healthy vegetarian, but this is a wise man. Maybe he's onto something. Maybe I should just try it out for a week just to see what happens. What I really wanted to do was in 3 days when I couldn't get out of bed in the morning, just be like, see, didn't work. Cross it off my list, never doing that again. 3 days in, god damn it, I was feeling good. So good. 3 days in, I was feeling strong, I was feeling energetic, I was feeling better after my meals, I felt like I needed to sleep less, I felt somewhat happier, which is strange, you might think, in 3 days, what a noticeable difference. But because I was working on a cruise ship, where every single meal is a buffet, which I was taking full advantage of. I wasn't wasting any stomach space on fruit and vegetables, come on man, no. So I was going hectic on the meat, pyramid of meat every meal. No wonder in 3 days I felt so much better. I wasn't putting all that into my body anymore. And I was eating food and I thought, this is good, I feel good, the food's good. Man, I'm surprised. Maybe there's something to this. Maybe I could do this and help others feel better as well. I need to look into this. So that's what I do. I start looking into it. Are there health benefits? Can you sustain living like this? And what I learned absolutely blew my mind. Not only can you be healthy without eating any animal products, but you're likely to live a longer life. You're likely to have less nutrient deficiencies. You're likely to reduce your chances of heart disease, the biggest killer. Cancers, diabetes, obesity, osteoporosis, so many of the biggest killers that we are plagued with today. The things that our friends and family are most likely to suffer and die from barely need to exist if we all stop eating animal products. I was so excited to learn this. Oh my God, I can help my family more, my clients more, live longer. This is big. I got so excited, like all vegetarians do. And then I did the thing. Man, you gotta go vegetarian. Do you know about vegetarianism? Sit down, I've got this new thing I want to talk to you about. Everyone's like, bro, you ate steak for breakfast like 2 days. We treat them worse. These innocent, vulnerable beings. We treat them worse than we treat the worst sex offender, child molester, and getting the answers to them. And what I learned through this is that being vegetarian was not the answer. Being vegetarian was not enough. Obviously, with meat, it's been cut off an animal's body. An animal has suffered and died. Milk, dairy, eggs. It's this white carton with this silhouette, happy-looking cow. You just think, sweet cows need to be milked, right? What I learned is that the dairy and egg industry and every industry that's exploiting animals is equally cruel. All use of animals is wrong. They're not here for us to use. All use is a form of exploitation. All exploitation is a form of abuse. And all abuse is wrong. A vegan is someone who doesn't consume any animal products. They don't eat them, wear them, use them for clothing, use them for experimentation. We just leave them alone. We let them live their life. We treat them the way that we want to be treated, with respect. We don't want to be used as products. Basic. It's nothing special. It's very simple. It's so basic. It's the golden rule in action. Treating others the way you'd want to be treated. Animals count as others. We are animals too. And so I decided, right, I need to go vegan. And I spent the rest of that year planning my vow of silence. I spent the rest of that year transitioning to vegan. I'd go pretty good for a while, then I'd eat a bunch of ice cream and I'd feel, what am I doing? I'd think about the dairy cows. Then I learned if you blend a few frozen bananas and you put in a little bit of soy milk in there, you got ice cream. And I was like, I eat this every day, 4 times a day, I'll be sweet. Best recipe ever. Should have taught us that in kindergarten, would have saved so much problems. And so, January 1st, 2014, my vow of silence began. And that is also the day that I said, no more slip-ups. They weren't slip-ups, they were deliberate times I'd be like, oh, you're gonna throw that out? I'll eat it, don't worry about it. No more of that. From this day on, I'm out, I'm doing it, I'm vegan now. And that was it. The plan was to travel around Australia to, it's a nice place, isn't it? Travel around Australia in a van, write a blog about the journey, and because it's a vow of silence, a year-long vow of silence that no one I knew of had ever done before, I thought it would be intriguing. Not just to vegans or people who care about animals, but to anybody who just thinks that's a wild thing to do. And so a lot of people followed it, not because they're interested in animal rights or veganism, because that was an interesting, intriguing campaign to anybody. I started traveling around. Obviously, it was extremely hard to not speak. Like, I don't shut up, you'll notice if you try to hang out with me. I That was the hardest part, obviously, at first, just trying to figure out how to communicate. At first I was writing everything down, which sucks, because you think of a funny joke. And then like, a few minutes later, when you nearly finished, like, this isn't funny anymore. Don't worry about it. So and then I met this person who was fluent in sign language. And you know people who do sign language? They talk like this with no noise. Some people are like, oh, they talk like this with no noise. Some people are like, what the hell did you just say, man? I didn't get that at all. And that's what happens through the whole year. There'll be two people standing next to me, one of you nod and like, oh yeah, I understand. I'll be like, I don't know what's going on here. When I started communicating like that, it was much easier for me. And the first thing I wanted to do was visit a sanctuary so that I could get to meet these animals. And I started realizing that there's kind of individuality in these animals, but I wasn't 100% sure yet. Next day, right, after I started like meeting the animals, because I'd never met any animals before except for my dog, who I wasn't even that big of a fan of. Bruce, I'm sorry. I love him now. Back then I'm like, you know? It's just how I was, man. I wasn't doing it because I loved animals, I was doing it because they deserve justice, whether I love them or not. The babies are obviously traumatized in a way as well. They're looking for their mum, they want their mum. The baby boys are seen as a waste product. They will never produce milk, they're boys. They're sent to the slaughterhouse. At the slaughterhouse, they get a bolt gun put to their head, which fires a bolt through their skull into their brain to stun them. Then they get their throat slit. These babies. And we have the nerve to call that something. We call it humane slaughter. We have the nerve to call it that. Humane means to show compassion. It is simply a way of describing one of the most cruel and disgraceful things that humans participate in, the murder of innocent baby animals. It's a word used by industry to make us feel better about our choices to do the wrong thing. Humane means nothing for the animals. There's no humane way to kill someone who does not want to die, just like there's no humane child molestation and there's no humane murder. There is no humane slaughter. Baby girls have the same fate as their mother. She's forcibly impregnated as soon as she's old enough. Her babies are taken from her. She's hooked up to painful milking machines that cause all kinds of different infections, like mastitis, which is very painful. And then this process is repeated yearly until she's so severely exploited that she can't continue, and she's sent to the same slaughterhouse as her babies. Around 5 to 7 years old, she's shot in the head, throat slit, and in nature they can live up to 30 years, maybe even a bit longer. So they're still almost like children age when we do this to them. Why do we do this? Because people like having a slice of cheese on their sandwich and one extra flavour. Because people like putting cow's milk on their cereal. Do you know what we could do? I know you know what we could do. This is usually how easy being vegan is. You go to the same supermarket you always go to. You're about to get the cow's milk and then you go, oh, I'm vegan now. And then you do this, do that. Well, you get the rice milk, you get the soy milk, almond milk, coconut milk, hazelnut milk, and whatever they're shouting out. Lots of options. We don't need to do any of that to cows. It's so easy, right? We know that. It's up to us to teach others. We're so interested in life. We go to other parts of the galaxy to look for life. I tell you right now, they don't want to be found by us. They're looking at what we're doing to cows and all animals. They're like, man, look what they do to their own. I don't want to meet them. We need to treat ourselves better, each other better, and all species better. As Einstein said, we need to widen our circle of compassion to embrace all nature and all living creatures. Factory farms in Australia, they are horrendous places. I've never been in a vibe of so much, like, this is the part that I just cannot do justice. I cannot describe to you how disgraceful it is in there. These animals trapped, these babies being squashed to death by their mothers, not being able to turn around, these cages are so small. Babies squealing to death, squealing in their last moments before they die. I cannot do justice how wrong, clearly wrong this is. All you need to see is in factory farm footage. This is where over 95% of animal products come from. Even if it wasn't like that, even if they get belly rubs every day, they have this nice paddock, it's beautiful, which is very rare. At the end of the day, they all end up at the slaughterhouse, and it doesn't matter how you treated them. It's always wrong to rob someone of their greatest gift, to rob someone of their life. Just like if I murder somebody here, it doesn't matter if I tell the judge I humanely murdered them and I let them free range their whole life. Murder is murder. And if I pay someone else to murder for me, we go down equally responsible for that murder. It is the same when we purchase animal products. My van broke down. I realised a good idea would be to get a bike, and I would cycle 5,000 kilometres, which is about 3,000 miles, from Darwin to Sydney by myself. The reason I did that was because I wanted to show people how healthy and strong and fit you can be as a vegan, and that you don't need any animal products to do amazing things. Just to speed this up, I got tattooed, my arms covered in tattoos with animal rights message, because I thought, how am I going to keep bringing this message up? When I was voiceless, everyone said, why are you voiceless? I got to tell them, without words, non-verbally. I thought, what am I going to do when I start talking again? I know, I'll get tattoos. Everyone's like, what are your tattoos saying, man? They say a lot of things. This says lions kill for need, humans kill for greed, with a lion, because everyone thinks they're lions all of a sudden. I agree with one thing, that causing unnecessary harm to animals is wrong. They said, all right, James, why did you do this? I said, thank you for asking. But what I said was this, thank you for asking. It's been a year, man. Thank you for asking. The reason I took this vow of silence is to raise awareness for the voiceless victims of this planet, the animals. We all say we love animals, and we're against animal cruelty.
But we pay people to mutilate, torture, and slaughter animals. And it's not for any necessity. It's not because we need to for our health. It's just because we like the way they taste. So I went voiceless because they're voiceless. I thought. But then I realized they're not actually voiceless. They cry in pain, they scream in terror, and when they do that, they're using their voice to tell us they're suffering. But the problem is we're not listening, because they have wings instead of arms, they have fur, they have scales, they're a different species, so we don't take their suffering seriously.
La, la, take me home, darling, I'm coming home. I'll follow you into the park, through the jungle, through the dark.